if you're going to work in a pharmacy, you're going to become a pharmacist. What I love about pharmacy is being able to help people in the neighborhood. Turning 38 next month, so about 20 years in the pharmacy world. They'll get medication they don't understand. Well, I didn't know. The doctors didn't say anything. I don't know what to expect.
Welcome, you guys. Welcome to the D4A Personal Injury Show. This is Jean-Paul Anderson. I'm here with our co-host, Nicole Anderson.
Hi, guys.
And we have a special guest today. We have Tan Pham from Brightside Specialty Pharmacy, who is located in Santa Ana, California.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
So the best thing with Tan and Brightside Specialty Pharmacy, he's not only located in Santa Ana, but he's located all throughout California. So later on in the show, we're going to explain why that is.
Well, today we're going to start with Nicole, who's going to be asking the first question.
So my first question is, pharmacy. What made you become a pharmacist and get into a pharmaceutical company?
Actually, a pretty funny one. I turned 18 and I wanted to do something more than working, fast food joint. And then so I entered the pharmacy world. I worked there as a technician. And I was just going to college and getting my G. I did not know what I wanted to do. The pharmacist there said, well, if you're going to work in a pharmacy, you're going to become a pharmacist. And so he helped me get through school, take my classes, apply, and a couple years later, I became a pharmacist. But it didn't stop there. He mentored me into the person I am now. And what I love about pharmacy is being able to help people in the neighborhood, right? You don't realize how many people in your neighborhood don't have access to medical care or see their doctor or have time to go to urgent care. They come to the local pharmacy and ask the pharmacist for medical advice, I can remember a time when this old gentleman came and he had a numbness in his left arm, didn't know what to do, right? So I told him, you gotta go get checked out, urgent care. You could have possible mini stroke or a heart attack. He went, next day he came back, he thanked me, he told me that he was having a mini stroke and that if the doctor said if he let it go for a couple more days, it may not, be really, really bad. So from there, I realized that, I want to help people. I want to make sure that people are educated on, medical practices, medication, and just general lifestyle changes, right, as well, too.
Yeah, that does happen a lot. A lot of people go into the pharmacy with a cough just to grab Robitussin and not realizing they have something more serious like pneumonia.
I'm surprised they haven't, invented something where it's like a 15-second consult, with like a provider or someone that is, part of the pharmacy or an MD or something that's part of the pharmacy.
Absolute great idea. I think most people would just Google their symptoms. They call it Dr. Google and they just figure out, okay, this is what they have.
That's true. Some try to self-prescribe too by Google.
The thing about Google is that you never know what's real and what's not real because it's obviously published sometimes by, regular folks in the community. It's really difficult to know what's real medical advice, versus, somebody who's not even a doctor.
So talking about Google and everything, is there something a pharmacist specifically uses to look up new medications or some that have been discontinued, or what do you guys use?
Continuing education is very important for all prescribers, medical field, right? And we're so busy, we don't take the time to look up all these new medication coming out. So you can sign up for like the CDC. They have newsletters daily and weekly. State Board of Pharmacy of California has newsletters that go out, but you have to sign up. Even for providers, medical providers, they have their own newsletter as well too. And so once you sign up for these alerts on daily, on weekly, they'll tell you what comes out, the new medication, how it's compared to the old medication. And the really neat thing is they'll give you case study as well too. And that you make sure that you kind of study these case studies and see if it's suitable for your patient or not. New medications that come out is not necessarily the best medication. It's newer. And so they believe that, okay, it might help certain people, but you want to make sure that you're able to study the case studies and make sure you educate your patient as well on it.
So tell me how this is on a pharmacist. So say, for instance, they discontinue a medication. We just had an attorney that was here a couple weeks ago and we talked about Vioxx, which was discontinued because it was causing heart attacks. So what happens when they discontinue a medication? How quickly do you have to pull it from your shelves? Say, for instance, a doctor prescribes it not realizing it was discontinued, but you knew it was discontinued. Do you contact the physician that prescribed it and kind of go about that? Is it kind of like a back and forth, or if you accidentally filled it and you didn't know it was discontinued, how do you go about that, I guess?
So once we get a newsletter or an email alert or even faxes, the state board and the medical board will email you like a blast. Yeah. I'll email you, fax you. Sometimes I'll give you calls that, hey, these are discontinued, they're urgent. Once we get that notice, we pull it right away. And for medications that were prescribed the day before or previously, we do our due diligence. We will make sure the community is safe, right? We take a backlog of what we filled the last week or two. Could be 6 months, right? We call every patient there and let them know, hey, this has been discontinued because of this. If you have any of these side effects, then I suggest you seek medical attention or ask your doctor. The next step will be letting the doctors know, hey, look, we called your patient for you, and let them know that these medications have been discontinued and we've fully consulted them on what to do. And then so it's a role that you want to take upon. A lot of pharmacies will just pull the medication and not reach out. But I think it's our due diligence as
more detailed.
A community leader, right? A provider to go out and call everyone, educate everyone, and make sure everyone's safe.
So I want to kind of make a point, because we're going to talk about one of our biggest epidemics is going to be fentanyl and everything like that. But say, for instance, someone has a medication. This happens a lot. A lot of people have medication. After a while, they don't use it, or it's just sitting in their cabinets and they go to throw it away. What's the best way to recycle medications that someone else won't get access to it, like in a trash can, or, there's people that go around digging the trash cans, and you just want to make sure they don't get a hold of a medication that could be potentially fatal to them,
especially with kids in the house or elderly. So the best way is to drop it off at a local pharmacy who take back medication. Like us, we have a drop-off center, so people can come and just drop it off in a little container. What we do is we package up and we ship it. Every pharmacy should have one that you can go to. You can reach out to the police department, the fire department, and then drop it off there as well too. They'll have take-back programs. But the worst thing you can do is throw it in a trash can, because anyone can grab it. It can go into the environment, the sewage system, to the ocean as well too, right?
Don't flush it, guys. That goes into your water system and it takes forever to purify that.
How long have you owned your own pharmacy for?
Open Brightside for, I think this is our third year going. I've been working in retail for such a long time. Wow. I'm turning 38 next month, so about 20 years in the pharmacy world. I worked in multiple pharmacies. Walgreens. I worked in hospital, ambulatory care, pain management. But in, like an independent pharmacy, I was the last 5 years. The last 3 years was my own, and we opened it just for the sake of the community, and I wanted more time with the patients and people. And when you go to Walgreens, CVS, how often do you see the pharmacist?
They're hiding behind multiple bottles of medication.
Yeah, they'll just like, do you have any questions? And I didn't feel that was the proper gauge of a pharmacist and my take on pharmacist's role. I opened the pharmacy and I just wanted to make sure that everyone in the community was educated.
So the pharmacist that you initially started with, is he still practicing, like when you initially started before you went to school and everything?
It's so funny, we live in the same city, but I never see him anymore. I used to work with him so much, and I'm so grateful that he took me on and educated me and showed me the personal meaning behind a pharmacist. Actually, I was just thinking about him the other day, that I should go back and just say hi, or come back and just let him know how I'm doing. And people affect other people in a meaningful way, and it's just wonderful.
One of our biggest questions today, and that we're going to discuss, is fentanyl and oxycodone abuse, overdoses. This happens a lot. There's been such an increase with the numbers of people who are being affected by this. So I know you kind of did some research. What is the big increase? Like, I know the graph is going up with how many accidents.
It's a great subject, by the way. I think that is not talked upon much or educated much so that people know and help. But yeah, CDC released a statement for 2021. It's over 100,000 death cases due to opioids, right? And the more interesting part is, compared to the previous year, is a 28.5% jump. It affects everybody. It really does. Friends, family. I had a church friend. I known him since I was maybe 5 or 6 years old. Moved to Arizona a few years ago, got overdosed from fentanyl, and just died. And it's just the saddest thing, because you don't think that it's going to happen to someone that you love or near you, and it happens. Most of his cases are infants and kids as well too, if you're surprised about that. Last month I read a 6-year-old died from fentanyl overdose because he was playing with a toy that was laced with fentanyl in the house, and somehow ingested it, and breathing just stopped, respiratory arrest. And it's so sad to think that a child can be in that situation.
That's crazy that it was inside of a toy. I'm assuming the parents were hiding their drugs in the toy. That's horrible. But and what is the difference between oxycodone? Is it all in the same family with fentanyl? And
so the general population don't know the difference, right? And you're prescribed sometimes one or the other, and then sometimes another. So see, we have, Vicodin, which is hydrocodone. We have Norco, Percocet, which is oxycodone, fentanyl, and different varieties of other derivatives, right? And they're all the same classification, all derived from the poppy plant and heroin, and they're all the same. Really, they're all opioids. So if you prescribe an opioid that sounds like one of those names, you want to make sure that you're well educated on it. Just like heroin's bad, but fentanyl alone is 50 to 100 times more potent than heroin itself. So, something that's laced just very little by fentanyl, it can just shut down your system and stop your breathing.
And if you have a family member who has an issue and you're aware about it, is there a way to get some type of
Narcan?
Narcan, yes. Is there? How does somebody get their hands on that?
So there's something called Narcan. It's a nasal spray that helps reverse overdose from opioids, and it's easily obtainable. You can go to any pharmacy. By law, they need to dispense it to you if you have a legitimate reason, a family member, a friend that you're concerned about that's using or has a high risk of overdose. Then you want to make sure that you ask for that product, and just make sure the pharmacist consult you on how to use it and not just give it to you, because during a episode, you want to make sure you're well educated and be able to spray it properly, administer it properly, so that that person is reversing the overdose, right? And then not only educate yourself, but family members and friends around them as well too, because you may not be there when that individual is overdosing or need help. And the more education you give to other people, the more knowledge they'll know to give the medication.
And what are some signs of an overdose on a person who's taken oxycodone, Vicodin, whatever,
The initial stage, obviously, sweating, agitation, nervous, confusion, right? The second one would be depressed breathing. So when you take opioids, when it gets ingested into your body, it becomes opioid substance, right? And then it attaches to a receptor called opioid receptors, mainly in your brain. And so, it does decrease pain level, which is great for people who really need it, but it also causes euphoria, a high that people like. All right. So being that it's in your brain, it can cause a lot of central nervous system damage, right? Like called CNS damage. And so you get respiratory depression where your breathing is very low. Respiratory arrest, meaning that you stop breathing. So if they have high risk of opioid overdose, and their breathing is depressed, or they just stop breathing, they're laying on the floor, then that's the sign that they need help, because it can just shut off your breathing instantly, and then you have no oxygen in the air.
So this could happen to anyone. So say, for instance, you're involved in a personal injury accident, you're injured pretty severely, your pain management prescribes you medication, and not realizing it, you can get addicted to these medications. Is there steps to take to slowly come off of that? Or are there, say, for instance, classes that you can inform, patients, clients of to slowly come off this medication?
It all falls into the category of education, right? And not to say, opioids are bad for people who need them. Like you say, surgery, major pain, see car accidents that relocate your discs. Those are severe pains that some people may need opioids. But it does start with the patient, the doctor, even the pharmacist. So if you're prescribed an opioid, you want to ask a lot of questions. Talk to your doctor, like, is there alternatives? What's the side effects? Should I be using it, or can I use something else? As for the doctor should be very, not hesitant, but very cautious on prescribing it, right? If the doctor feels the patient or the client really needs it, then, educate the client, educate the patient on what to expect, right? Use it sparingly. Use it under the direction of a doctor, right? Yeah. This is the most important thing. And then as for a pharmacist, do your due diligence. If you see a person getting Percocet, oxycodone, fentanyl, educate them on what to expect and ask them, have you used anything else? So the education process is very important, so that the patient can make a decision on using it or not. And if they decide to use it, use it sparingly, use it only when you need for the pain. If you use it consistently, then your tolerance will grow, your addiction will grow as well too. And there are classes that you can take, education classes, you can go to your doctor, ask more questions, but the pharmacist is available. They're there most of the day. The pharmacy can't open without a pharmacist, so ask the pharmacist questions on how to, wean down on it. And weaning down on it is kind of difficult, because then you'll get withdrawal symptoms as well too. So the main thing to do is ask yourself, do you really need it? Are there different alternatives that you can use? And if you are to use it very sparingly and just as needed if you really need to.
I have one last question that is probably a lot of people are concerned about. You're known throughout California. Explain this. I know your pharmacy is located in Santa Ana. How do you reach everybody in California?
Being centrally located, in Orange County, we do a next day FedEx. And so, we understand the need for fast processing. When you're injured, in pain, you can't wait long. So how it works with us is once we get the prescription in, whether from the law firm or from the doctor's office, we reach out to the client right away. We want to make sure that we collect all history for the client. So we have an intake team who gets allergies, health conditions, if they're on alternative meds or any other medication. And then we have the pharmacist take a complete profile look. Then we call the client back. We like to have a long conversation with the client and patient on education. So it can be anywhere between 5 or 7 minutes on average that we educate the patient on how to use the medication, what they're taking, why they're taking it, right? Because sometimes they'll get medication they don't understand. Well, I didn't know. The doctors didn't say anything. I don't know what to expect. So we'll make sure they're fully educated on it. Then after educating them, we push it out right away. We do a FedEx ship out the next day to make sure that they get it. And so our FedEx guarantees throughout California next day, no matter where you're at in California, right? There are certain cases where, doctor forgot to send a prescription. It's urgent. They just get out of surgery, then our driver will come out and deliver it wherever you're at.
Especially after a surgery. I've been out of surgery, and to wait in the car and have your husband go in and get your medication while you're in a ton of pain is not fun. You'd rather just be home and in bed and have that delivered. So FedEx, is this signed? So with narcotics and everything, you do a signed signature on that for the delivery?
Exactly. So our process, if it's a narcotic, then we ask for an ID, whether via text or upon delivery, and a signature is required. Once they receive it, our intake team will call to make sure you receive it, and call to make sure that if you have any final questions or concerns. Then a few days later, we'll call back again to see how you're doing on that medication. Because sometimes you don't know what happens after taking it, right? After you take it for a few days, you could be confused. You could have an allergic reaction. Exactly. So we want to make sure that it's safe for the client or the patient and report back. Because a handful of times they'll have a rash, but they won't say anything. They'll have an allergic reaction. And so then we'll call the doctor's office and then explain to him, this is what happened to the client. If you can prescribe something else, and we'll shoot it again to them. FedEx as well too. So so it's pretty instant.
If you're a business owner and you're at the office all the time, like this gentleman always is, and you need a prescription, are you able to choose between work or home for it being delivered?
So during the process, we'll ask them where they like it to be delivered. And if you work all day long in your office, it's probably a great choice to just get delivered to the office, right? Or if you have a secure box, some people live in an apartment, they have a secure box, and we'll leave it in the mailbox that they have there as well too. And so up to you, your desire. Some people will want us to deliver it to the doctor's office where they'll see the doctor in a few days, and they'll pick it up there as well too. And so wherever they wish, we'll
That's
deliver.
A huge convenience, because I remember every time I've gone into any pharmacy recently, at least, there has been at least a 15 to 30 minute line.
Oh my God, longer than that. Are you kidding
Even
me?
longer sometimes, and it's just like, oh my God, like,
You're standing there in
time is so
pain.
valuable, and you're in pain and you're uncomfortable, and people around you in your community know you, so you're like, they're trying to say hi to you, and you're just like, get away, it's like,
Really? Hear that?
I mean, I've had my situations before with stomach pain or something, but it's uncomfortable just waiting in line, so that's a huge help.
What I learned in my retail time was, when you're sick, the last place you want to be is in the pharmacy. You're sick, you went to the doctor's office, you waited probably an hour or two, right? Yeah. See a doctor, and then you got to drive to the pharmacy, wait, and that's the last place you're going to be at, and you don't want to be there, right? And so just going home after your doctor's office, knowing that it's going to come to you the same day or next day, it's even better.
So this pharmacy is on a lien basis. So if you've been involved in an accident, you have an attorney. You also take insurances as well.
So the client can elect to use their insurance or go through the case. We take workers' comp as well too. We work a lot of adjusters as well. And if you have a workers' comp case that you want to file, we file on your behalf as well too, and talk to your adjuster. And so, we start as a mom and pop shop, right, in Santa Ana, and geared towards customer service, but we've grown to a point where we can serve all of California.
And Arizona and Nevada, I hear, possibly?
2023, we're working on getting licensed in Arizona and Nevada. And so it'll be the same process. We're going to ship into Arizona and Nevada, next day FedEx as well too. And so if you're in those states, watch out for us.
This is really brilliant to have your medication delivered, because some people are kind of embarrassed of picking up their medication. It's like you have a friend in the pharmacy and they're like, oh, well, this person's getting prescribed pain meds again this month. I wonder if they're, it could be embarrassing for some people. So having it delivered to your home is more convenient, and you're not, embarrassed to go in or see someone in the pharmacy and they're like, oh, what are you here for? It's good.
We disguise our package as well too.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it's disguised in a box that just has, it doesn't even say a Brightside Specialty Pharmacy. All right, it's just labeled to the patient and it's just a return address as well. So it's a little brown box that's disguised and then it just goes straight to them.
The invisible cloak box. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tan Pham with Brightside Specialty Pharmacy. You say that 5 times fast.
Is there a telephone number or an email they can contact you in?
So if you want to call us, 714-707-5115. For doctors offices and law firms, if you want to send your demographics for your clients or reach out to us, you can email RX, so Robert X-ray, ONLIEN, so that's RX on lean @gmail.com. Our intake team will take it in and assist your client ASAP.
I appreciate you being here today. Thanks again.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
Like, share, and subscribe.